Hello everyone. So Ilia just came out with a new foundation stick, and from reading some of their materials I thought that it sounded like it might be appropriate for people who have more mature and dry skin like mine. So I definitely wanted to give this a try, and I thought that I would compare it directly against the foundation stick that I have done the best with so far, and that has been the Bobbi Brown foundation stick. So this is a product that I have been using for several years and that I do really like quite a lot, even in comparison to a lot of the foundations that have been released recently. And I don't think I've talked about it a whole lot on this channel, at least not in terms of a full review. So I thought that it would be good to compare this one directly to the Ilia foundation stick to see how well the Ilia one holds up to this one. And then I also will be talking about some of the other foundation sticks that I have tried over time and letting you know what I think of those. And then in addition, Ilia just came out with this new lip crayon, and this is called Lip Sketch, and it comes in, I think, like a dozen different colors. And so I picked up one of these, and so I've been trying this out, and I've kind of been liking it, so I thought I would talk a little bit about that. And then in general, I don't think that I've ever done a brand review on either Bobbi Brown or Ilia on this channel. I've just talked in bits and pieces about some of their different products. So I thought that I would do for each of those brands, I would talk about the products from them that I have tried, which is a lot of them, and let you know what I think of those as well. So first, a little bit of information about me. I'm 59 years old, and I do have dry and very sensitive skin. And I have never had any kind of cosmetic procedures like injections or surgery, and I don't really intend to do that. So when it comes to foundations, I'm particularly concerned about whether or not the foundations are making my wrinkles look worse or making other issues on my skin look worse. And over the past 3 years, I've tried more than 1,000 makeup products, and so I do have a pretty good basis of comparison for everything that I try out in these videos. And one thing that I have found is that there are certain ingredients that are often included in many products that do irritate my sensitive skin, and so I just don't talk about products with those ingredients on this channel. And now let's talk about this new lip sketch. So this is just brand new. It just came out like a week or so ago. And it is available in 12 different shades. And the idea with this is that it's kind of like a lip pencil, but it is in a thicker crayon, and it's a little bit softer, so it goes on a little bit easier. And so you can use it to line your lips, but I think it's mostly designed to give a nice, neat lip that's kind of filled in. And some of the colors are brighter, and then some of them are a lot more neutral, like this one. And I put this on earlier today, but I'll put a little bit more on now. I am kind of a big fan of the look of lip pencils, especially if I put a little bit of a lip balm over the top of them. But I do think that this one is particularly nice because it goes on a little bit soft, and it looks kind of natural, and it seems to be a little bit more designed to fill in your whole lips than a lip pencil. And the shade that I purchased in this one is Banquette, and I kind of decided to purchase this one because it looked like it might be kind of the same color as the Ma Beauty 1990 lip pencil, which is the recreation of the original MAC Spice, which is a lot more cool than the MAC Spice that MAC is offering now. So I have a comparison here, and what I have is the Ilia Banquette on the top, and then underneath it I have the Ma Beauty 1990 version. And obviously the one on the top is quite a bit more pink, but I think it is very nice, and I think that my own lips do tend to be a little bit on the pink side, and I don't mind that kind of a neutral type of a pink on my lips. And for topping off lip pencil looks, I tend to really like the Isamaya lip balms in their Isamaya Lips collection, and so I will put just a little bit of this over the top of it, and I think that this is the follower shade. So in terms of a neutral look that I think makes my lips look defined but doesn't have a lot of color, and that I think is really pretty with a variety of different makeup looks, I really kind of like both of these colors, and I do really like this pencil. So as I say, I think that Ilia took inspiration for their line of foundation sticks directly from Bobbi Brown, and I think that they also took inspiration for this line of lip crayons directly from Bobbi Brown as well. So I actually have in my own makeup collection a couple of products that have been discontinued but that I actually kind of liked. And these are called art sticks, and so they're really big, maybe too big, but these were from Bobbi Brown. They were probably released when Bobbi Brown herself was still there, and they have they're basically the same concept. So they're a really big pencil. They go on softer than a traditional lip pencil, but still in a way that you can make a nice, neat lip. And they came in a variety of different colors. And I really, really liked this. I think that the issue that I had with them is that by the time that I purchased them in 2020, 2021, that they were already had been sitting in inventory for quite a while, and they started to taste like the wood from the pencil. So that kind of annoyed me. And so I didn't get that much use out of them. But in terms of the concept for the product, I really, really liked it. And I actually, when the people from the Jones Road group, so they have a Facebook group, and sometimes they ask people what products they would like to see. I suggested a couple times these art sticks, but they never went ahead with them at Jones Road, and now they have taken them off the market at Bobbi Brown. And I actually am really happy to see them bring them something similar to them back from Ilia, because this is much more similar than anything else that I have seen to those old art sticks. And I am really tempted to go and buy a few more of these, because this is really a lip look that I actually really like, and I do think it feels comfortable, and I think that it feels clean to me, and I think that this is something I can really enjoy. And I think that this is also something that I can throw in my purse that doesn't take up much room. And so all in all, I do think this is a really nice product, and I think that if I were going to be picking my favorite products that were released this year so far, that probably would be in one of the best ones that I think has been out there so far. And so now let's talk about the Bobbi Brown foundation stick and compare that to the new Ilia foundation stick. So although I did wear makeup back in the 1990s and early 2000s, there was a considerable length of time that I went where I was really not wearing too much makeup at all. And then sometime in 2020, I decided that I was starting to see my face starting to change, and that it might be a good thing to see if I could try to use some skincare and some makeup to help me to look a little bit better as I got older. And so I did spend a lot of time looking at the ingredient lists on some of the Bobbi Brown products. I knew I didn't want to have things with fragrance in them, and I knew I didn't want to have things with sunscreen in them because those were irritating to me. And so really the only foundation from that company that I thought would be appropriate for me was this foundation stick. And it ended up working out really, really well for me. So I feel like compared to most of the products that I was trying at the time, and even compared to most of the products that I've been trying on now, I feel like it gave me a really natural look, but it gave me a substantial amount of coverage, and I really felt like in a lot of cases that I wasn't really wearing any makeup at all. And I was mostly using it for spot coverage, but sometimes I would use it a little bit more diffusely and blend it in with a brush, which is what I did in some of the video footage today. So I've been really happy with this product, and then a year or two later, then they came out with a couple of other products, including their concealer stick and their corrector stick. So those are a little bit thicker, and they're more designed for spot coverage, and this one can be used for either spot coverage or for general coverage. But in general, I think that it still is the case that of all the foundations that I've tried, this has really been one that I've liked a lot. And so I kind of think it's too bad that people don't talk about it more. And I do hope that Bobbi Brown continues to sell it. They seem to have removed a lot of the material about it from their website. They still have all the shades in stock, but it's kind of hard for me to figure out which shade to get just from looking at the Bobbi Brown website, because they don't really have too many pictures of people on the website. So I'm not sure what they're doing. I don't really trust Estee Lauder to be making good decisions at this point. I was able to go on the Nordstrom website and to look at pictures of both the shades and of arm swatches and of the pictures of people that are supposed to be associated with each shade. So I think that that information is still out there if people want to buy it, but I just hope they keep making it because I do think it's a really good product. And there are 43 shades of this product, so I think that that is a really wide shade range. And I wasn't sure which shade to buy. This was back when COVID restrictions were in place, and so I sent some pictures of myself in natural light to the makeup artist that worked for Bobbi Brown, and they did, I thought, a really great job of helping me to choose the right shade of product. And hopefully the makeup artists from Bobbi Brown are still really good. I haven't gotten in touch with them recently, so I'd like to hear if other people have success with them. And I actually like this product so much that when I was thinking about cream bronzers and I wasn't able to find any that I thought were really terrific for me, I actually talked to them about the idea of using one of these little sticks as a cream bronzer, and they helped me to choose a shade with that one too, and I thought that that worked out pretty well. So I feel like it's really kind of important with cream bronzers that you pick a shade that really matches your undertone, and that in a lot of cases there aren't that many bronzers in the line, and you might not be able to find one that you like really easily. So at the Sephora that I go to on a regular basis, they don't stock, unfortunately, all 43 shades of this, but they do stock quite a few shades. And so I think that this could be a way to try out some of these products, both in terms of a foundation shade and maybe also as a cream bronzer. I think it's worked nicely for that as well. So Bobbi Brown herself left the Bobbi Brown company in 2016, and I do think that those foundation sticks had been around for quite a while before I got my hands on them, and I think that that was probably something we can credit Bobbi Brown herself with having developed, along with probably most of the other products from the company that I have really enjoyed. So what I did in this video footage is to put the new Ilia foundation stick on one half of my face, and then I put the Bobbi Brown one on the other half of my face, so we can see if you can tell the difference in this footage. But I do think that when I looked at the information on the Ilia stick, I do think that they almost are competing directly against the Bobbi Brown stick, or maybe that they are just borrowing the Bobbi Brown philosophy and the Bobbi Brown concept and trying to bring it back to life, because of course the Bobbi Brown stick has kind of been really overlooked in general. So they have about the same number of shades. They are bringing out 42 shades, and Bobbi Brown has 43 shades. It's both medium coverage. They both seem to be designed to be targeting women who have drier skin. They both have squalane in them and some other moisturizers. And it's about the same price, and you're getting about the same amount of product. And in both cases, they are suggesting that this is supposed to be appropriate for people who are getting older and who do have issues regarding dryness and aging. Now, in terms of the ingredient list, the Bobbi Brown one does have some talc in it, and it also does have a small amount of silicone in it, so that could be of issues for some people. The Ilia one does not seem to have either of those in it, but it does contain some plastic in it, and so that is something that some people might object to as well. And that is something that Mob Beauty in particular is careful about, that they are not putting plastics or silicones in their product, mostly because they are concerned about environmental issues rather than so much product performance. And in terms of the ingredients in the Ilia product that are supposed to be good for the skin, they are putting in avocado oil, hydrogenated vegetable oil, some ceramides, and then a peptide which is called palmitoyl hexapeptide 12, which is supposed to be helpful with the skin barrier and also with skin firmness. So in terms of the performance for this, what I found out immediately when I put this on my skin is that it did cause some irritation in a way that the Bobbi Brown stick never did, and really the way that none of the other foundation sticks that I have used have caused any irritation. So I've really kind of gotten used to the idea that as long as a foundation stick doesn't have any ingredients in it that I know are really problematic, that they'd probably be fine for me. But this one did irritate my skin a bit, and I have really a zero tolerance policy in terms of not using products that irritate my skin, because I've found that it's a slippery slope for me. And then if I use something that irritates my skin, then my skin starts to react to other things, and pretty soon my skin is just a mess and I can't use anything. So in this case, what I did find is that if I put this on over a primer, and in particular, if I put it on over the Ilia primer, which is called the Base Face Milk, which I think works remarkably well as a primer. I was really surprised at that. I thought it was just going to be kind of a moisturizing lotion for day use, but it actually seems to serve really, really well as a primer to protect my face from a variety of irritating types of products. And if something is really irritating, then it's really not going to be enough. But if a product is mildly irritating, I've had really, really good success with this so far. And I do think I've had good success with putting this on underneath the Ilia foundation stick as well. So I don't still really feel like I probably will be wearing this foundation stick on a regular basis, or probably even occasionally, because I really don't like the idea that I know that my face is reacting to things and that I'm putting it on just because I can put it on over this primer. But it certainly did allow me to test out this product on several different occasions, wearing it for extended periods of time, so I could see how it was performing in comparison to the Bobbi Brown stick. Now, if it hadn't irritated my skin, I would still be much more likely to continue to use the Bobbi Brown one. And so you can look at some of this footage and you can see how it went on at the beginning of the day. I think in a lot of cases the footage is really giving me more information than I'm getting from anything else, including looking in the mirror or asking other people. I think that some of this footage is very, very informative and accurate. It is natural light, and I do get close up. So you can see what you think in terms of the two sides. I think that when I first put this product on, that it's fairly similar. I don't think that this one is emphasizing my wrinkles a whole lot, and I certainly don't think the Bobbi Brown one does that either. I think that it goes on fairly smoothly. It offers a really similar amount of coverage. And I think that the Ilia one goes on a little bit more patchy maybe, but that I was able to blend it out fairly easily, and that especially if I used a little bit of a cream concealer in addition to it, I think that it worked really nicely. I think that as the day went on, that consistently, I think that the Ilia one did not wear quite as well as the Bobbi Brown one. I think that it tended to get a little more patchy as the day went on and just not to look as fresh. And that by the end of the day, I started to feel like I could more tell that I was wearing foundation on the side with the Ilia than I could on the side with the Bobbi Brown. And I really feel like with that Bobbi Brown one, I almost never feel like, no matter what I do, I really don't feel like I'm really wearing a foundation. That once I put it on, I feel like it might eventually wear off, and some of it might not be giving me as much coverage, but I don't feel like it's showing other people that I'm wearing foundation, and that seems to be the thing that's most important to me. And I do think that with the Ilia one, I have to keep a little bit more of an eye on it, and that it is more likely to be showing. Now, I'm not sure what it is about the Ilia product that caused me to react to it. I know that there's one ingredient in there that is called glyceryl hydrogenated rosinate, and that is one that EWG thinks is mildly problematic and that I think I may have had issues with in the past, so it could be that that is it. There's also some kind of like extracts of various botanicals in there, such as butterfly lavender, and I don't usually have problems with lavender, but I don't know about this butterfly lavender. So I am really not sure what to tell you in terms of what to watch for in terms of this product, but I certainly am a little disappointed that I was not able to use it without irritation. Now, the foundation stick that I have liked somewhat also, although not as much as the Bobbi Brown one, is this one from Westman Atelier. This one is considerably more expensive, and unfortunately it doesn't come in as many shades, so I think it only comes in 21 shades, and I have had a real difficult time finding one that I think is really as good for my skin as the Bobbi Brown shade that I have been using. The issue with this one, I think, is that the shades that are lighter, that seem to be the right skin tone, they don't really seem to have a good undertone, and so I've been using a shade that's darker and then blending it in. And I think with a foundation stick like this, especially if you're not using it diffusely all over the face, you can kind of get away with a shade that's a little bit too dark or a little bit that's too light, especially if you do match the undertone. But I still would prefer to have a foundation that was a really good match, and I just don't think they have enough shades in this. The shade that I have in this one is Atelier 2, and I think that that one is a lot better than the other ones. I finally did get a chance to try all of the foundation shades because Westman Atelier finally came to my Sephora, so I could go in and try all the shades, and I just don't think that they really have the right shade for me there. But it is a nice foundation stick. One thing about this one, it doesn't have any silicones in it, and I think that it does emphasize my wrinkles more than the Bobbi Brown one. So especially if I use it like in this area here where I do have some crow's foot wrinkles, that this does make the wrinkles look worse. So I kind of need to use it more strategically on my face. I tend not to use this one all over my face. I tend to use it more just where I need to use it as spot coverage. And I think it has worked fine for that, but I don't necessarily feel like it has worked better than a lot of the other cream concealers that I have used. So I've used it quite a bit, and there's quite a bit of this container gone, but I don't necessarily feel like I'm really eager to go buy more of it, especially since the price is so high. So I think with the Westman Atelier one, it's actually a really nice formula. And so if you don't have the wrinkle issues that I do, and you are able to find a shade that you're really happy with, then there are a lot of people that really, really like that product. But for me, I think that if the Ilia one did not irritate my skin, then I would probably prefer that one to the Westman Atelier one. So there are a few more foundations in stick form that I have tried out that are still on the market. And so one of these is the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop one. And I tried this out, I think, during a time that a whole lot of other products were being released. And I felt like it did emphasize my wrinkles a lot. And I never ended up actually doing a video on that. But now that Fenty has come out with a new liquid foundation, I think it might be good for me to go back and revisit this one and revisit the other Fenty foundations that they are offering, just to do an overview. So I'll probably do that, but my first impression after wearing this 2 or 3 times was that it was really not appropriate for me, and certainly not as good as either the Westman Atelier one or the Bobbi Brown one. And this Well People one, I did try this quite a few times, and I do feel like this one didn't perform all that well. It did emphasize the texture on my skin a lot, and so I got really frustrated with that one. This is another product that I think came out at about the same time as that Eaze Drop one. So this is from Tarte, and it is called Skin Treat. And my feeling with this one is that it really is not designed for people my age. I don't think that Tarte has a whole lot of interest in mature people. They seem to be more interested in people in their 20s. And so this seems to be much more of a foundation for people who have kind of oily skin and acne. And so it's not appropriate in that way, and it did seem both dry and exacerbating of my wrinkles. And then this one is from Basma, and I think that this one might have been okay for me in terms of the performance, but it does have retinol palmitate in it, and I do seem to be have skin that is pretty annoyed by any kind of retinol, including retinol palmitate. And it might just be that, this is just something that people would say, oh, you have to power through it. But I'm really not interested in doing anything to irritate my skin at all. I think that my skin does much better when it's not being irritated, even for the sake of some greater good. So I gave up on this really fast. But I think that if you are someone that doesn't mind using retinol, or you don't think that your skin would be irritated by that ingredient, then this one would not be one I would discourage you from trying, because based on my few times using it, I thought that it wasn't too bad. Another foundation stick that I have tried is the one from Milk Makeup, and I do think that that is another one that seems to be specifically geared towards teenagers and people in their 20s who do have a lot of acne. It seemed quite dry to me, and also quite thick, but I think that if you did have those issues, that it might have been a good one. At the time that I tried it, it only had lavender as the scent in it, and I seem not to react to lavender, and I seem to be fine with that one. I think they added an additional fragrance ingredient to that now, and so I'm not sure if I would be able to tolerate it or not, but I don't really see that one as being appropriate for people that are more mature. But I do think that if you know of someone who is having acne problems, that could be one to consider. And then there's one that's from Wet n Wild, which is like $7 even now, which is a remarkably low price. And I thought that compared to some of the other products that I was trying, that one was actually not too bad, especially for the price, but really even in comparison to some of these other ones. So that was not a product that I wanted to continue to go on using. But I think that if you really are trying to save money, and probably if you're younger and you have more acne problems, less mature skin, that could be one to look at. And then a couple products that are like cream foundations that are designed to be used all over the face, and that are in a kind of a solid cream rather than a fluffy cream, and that I think I have really enjoyed using. One of those is this Mob Beauty foundation. I think this has been really terrific, and I talk about this a lot on this channel. And I think that this is a really nice formula. It doesn't have any silicones in it. It doesn't have any plastics in it. It comes in a bunch of different really good colors that I think it's very easy with this line to find your own shade. And I think that Mob Beauty in general is doing really terrific things. So I would always suggest that people that are interested in that line at all, that it might be worth giving that a try. And then the other product that I think I'm probably going to do a video on fairly soon is Salt New York. And they have a product that is called Sneaky Balm, which is designed to be used a little bit more diffusely on the face, and that comes in 13 shades. It's pretty economical in terms of the price, and I think it's a pretty good quality, especially for the price. And I have used that from time to time. That comes in like a palette system, like this, sort of like this one, although they will not fit into these palettes, unfortunately. And now they are coming out with some new concealers and color correctors, and so I did order a couple of those. And so I thought that I would do at least a short video on all of the products that I've tried so far from Salt New York, just so that you can get a chance to take a look at those and see if those might be appropriate. And then there's a couple more foundation sticks that I'm a little bit interested in, but that I haven't tried yet. So one of those is the Hourglass foundation stick, and that one's a little bit pricey, and I am not crazy about some of the ingredients on there, but I seem to be doing reasonably well with some of the Hourglass products. And so what I should probably do is at least try to give that a chance in the Sephora store, just to see if I can tolerate it. And then Nude Sticks has a foundation stick, and I've really never tried anything from Nude Sticks, but I did pick up a couple products from them, and I'm thinking I should probably pick up that foundation stick and then do a whole video on Nude Sticks in general and just try out a few different things. And then Fashion Fair is a brand that I actually kind of like in a couple of their different products. I really like their primer a lot. I thought that their lipsticks were nice. And they do have a line of foundation sticks, which I kind of experimented with a little bit in the store. But of course, all of those shades are much too dark for my skin tone, so I really can't give it a good try. But if you do have darker skin, then I think that could be worth looking at as well. So now let's talk about the makeup look that I am wearing now, which is mostly Bobbi Brown products, and then I will go back and talk about the rest of the Ilia products as well. So in this particular look, what I started out by doing is putting on a little bit of this Ilia base face milk, and I do think that this is a really good product to put on really under any makeup that I have found so far, and I've been really impressed with it. It doesn't have any scent in it, and I think that it has been totally non-irritating, and it does give a lot of hydration to my face, and it dries really quickly, and it gives kind of a little bit of a sticky feeling that makeup goes over the top of it, and it also does protect my skin against certain kinds of issues that certain kinds of makeup might have, so that makes my skin a little bit less reactive. And it also seems to be the case that, for instance, if I'm wearing a blush, that the blush will be less likely to sink into my skin right away and disappear, and that it'll be more likely to have a little bit of staying power. So overall, I think that this is one of my favorite makeup products right now, and I was really surprised because I think it's the first makeup product from Ilia that I ever have been totally enthusiastic about, and I do think this has been really terrific. And then I put on some of this Bobbi Brown foundation stick, and I put on probably more than I usually wear just so that I could show you what it is like in case you want to have more coverage with it. I think that even when I put on a fair amount of it and that it does give me some good overall coverage, I think it does look still really quite natural on my skin, and it holds up really well. And even on a hot day like this, I think it holds up really well. So I have said a number of times whenever I do foundation roundups that this is one of my favorite products, and it's still one of my favorite products, and I think that what I need to do is to just keep it out all the time because of all of the products that I've tried. This has been a really terrific one. And then to do a few little touch-ups over that, I used my Bobbi Brown corrector stick and the Bobbi Brown concealer stick, and I really didn't need to use a lot more concealer once I had put down that foundation stick, but I did put a little bit around my nose just because that is a more difficult area. And with the corrector stick, this is a product that I have used quite frequently. It's one of the few makeup products that I ever totally used up, and I do have 2 more of these, I think, and I do intend to keep using this. This one does go on a lot easier than the Jones Road corrector sticks, or neutralizer sticks they call them. It's a little bit less dry, so if you're looking for something that you don't have to sharpen and that is a little bit creamy but that does have a lot of stickiness to it, I think this is a terrific product as well. So even though most of the Bobbi Brown products have not worked all that well for me and they have problematic ingredients in them, these 3 products have been really, really terrific. And I think that especially for women who are over 40, that these are really worth considering. Now, Bobbi Brown makes an eyebrow pencil. It is quite expensive. The one that I feel comfortable with and that I have liked is this one, which has a slant tip on it. And usually when eyebrow pencils have a slant tip on this like this, I feel like it's hard for me to make a natural look. But this one has been an exception, and I feel like it's actually worked pretty well for me, and that it doesn't take a lot of time to put on. I do feel like I need to put a little bit of brow gel over the top of it, but it's kind of surprising how much better I have done with this than with other pencils that superficially look the same. And they do have a bunch of different shades in this, and so I think that they added a few shades recently, so that probably if you're looking for a shade to match your eyebrows, that you will probably be able to find one in this line more than in many other lines. Now, one thing that I did find is that this Bobbi Brown eyebrow pencil is exactly the same as the Tom Ford one. Now, both Tom Ford and Bobbi Brown are both Estee Lauder companies, and I suspect that what happens is that when they acquired Tom Ford, that they needed an eyebrow pencil, so they just borrowed this one from Bobbi Brown. That would be my guess. The Tom Ford one has not as many shades, and it is a little more expensive, but I think that you still get a free refill with that one. And so I think that if you're looking for a free refill, or you just, for some reason, you are attracted to the Tom Ford name, then you could buy this one. But I think that for me, I have used this pencil quite a lot over time, and I haven't even needed a new refill. It's lasted really forever. And but in any case, it's good to know that these are really the same product, down to all of the same ingredients. But if I use a brow pencil like this, or really any other brow pencil except for the Jones Road one, then I really do need to put a brow gel over the top. And in this case, the brow gel that I happen to have here is one that's from Vapor that I happened to buy right before the company went out of business. And I do miss Vapor, and I wish that they were still around. And so that is what I used on my brows today. But there's a number of other products that I do think work well on my brows. I like the Kosas ones, I like the Jane Iredale one, and I like the one from Jones Road. And then another product from Bobbi Brown that I have really liked over time has been the Nude Finish Illuminating Powder. And my impression from talking to one of the Bobbi Brown representatives was that this was originally designed for women with more mature skin. So it's not really a setting powder. It doesn't really absorb a lot of oil. And it does have a small amount of shimmer in it. And I think it just gives a little bit of glowiness to the skin. Now, unfortunately, it does have talc is the first ingredient, and it also has some petrolatum in it, and it also has barium sulfate and a preservative, chlorphenicin. So I'm not entirely comfortable with the ingredient list, but I don't feel like it has ever been irritating to my skin, and I do think that it has worked nicely for me. And this is made in Japan, and I do think it's a very finely milled powder. And then Bobbi Brown was really, I think, one of the first companies to come out with a decent cream blush. They have some blush that are called Pot Rouge, and I used to use those even though they did have fragrance in them because I felt like the fragrance was, as synthetic fragrance goes, it was fairly innocuous. It was like a baby powder scent, and I thought those performed quite well. But now there's cream blush everywhere, and so I don't really feel it necessary to continue to resort to using a product with fragrance in it. But if they would take that fragrance out, then those are quite nice blushes, and they worked really well in terms of other characteristics. So instead, what I did for this look is I put on some of the Ilia multi-sticks, and so I have this tiny little one that I got as a birthday gift from Sephora. This is in the shade At Last. And of the Ilia products that are out there, I do think that these multi-sticks are quite nice. And they've held up pretty well for me. There's one that I've had for a couple years, and it still seems to be fine. And so I think that there are a lot worse choices for a cream blush out there than the Ilia ones, and I've gotten some nice use out of these. And I also am a really big fan of eyeshadow sticks. The reason that I like eyeshadow sticks is because they go on really fast. I can do a one and done, or sometimes use 2 different colors on my eyes and not have to put a primer down generally. And they tend to look really nice and very simple, and they cover up the darkness that is on my eyes. And so in general, I'm just a big fan of eyeshadow sticks. Now, the OG in this category would either be Bobbi Brown or Laura Mercier. Those have both been around for quite a while, and for a long time, those were the only eyeshadow sticks that I used. But more recently, there have been a bunch of other eyeshadow sticks that have been released from other companies, and I do think that it would be good for me to do a full video on eyeshadow sticks, so hopefully I can do that soon. But for this look, I just picked out a couple of different eyeshadow sticks from Bobbi Brown, and I put those on, and I think that both of those work really well for me. Now, I do have some concerns because they list aluminum powder on their may contain list, and so it's hard for me to feel comfortable buying any of these when they might have aluminum powder in them, because I know that's irritating to me, and I think it may be irritating to a lot of other people. I did manage to pry out from Estee Lauder or Bobbi Brown some of the products I asked about, and I said, do any of these have aluminum powder in them? And they looked up this list, and they said none of them did. and I think that enough time has passed that I should try writing to them again and asking them if there's any others in this list that don't have aluminum powder in them, so that I can have more options. But I do think that in terms of the formula, I've done really well with it. None of them have broken for me. I've had some of them for years. They still seem to be fine. I think that their formula is probably a lot better than some of the other ones, especially the Victoria Beckham ones, I think are seeming kind of problematic to me. So I think that if these particular eyeshadows are ones that don't have aluminum powder in them, and if they're not ones that irritate, then I think that these are very nice products, and I have used them quite a bit over the years. And they actually are coming out with a line that seems to be the same formula, but they are in the form of eyeliners rather than eyeshadow sticks. So they have a narrower point, so you can use them more specifically as a liner and have it be a finer line. So I'm interested in that too, and I did write to them and ask them about the aluminum powder for those. And then another old Bobbi Brown product that I think is from Bobbi Brown herself are these perfectly defined gel eyeliners, and these do have some silicones in them and plastic type things in them. But I have had real problems with eyeliners in general. A lot of them, even the ones that are clean beauty, or maybe especially the ones that are clean beauty, tend to irritate my eyes, probably because they have cottonseed oil in them and it has Roundup or other agricultural chemicals in it. And then a lot of eyeliners also, they don't smudge very well, or they tend to wear off really quickly, or they just tend to be frustrating, or they dry too fast. So I think that these have been, for a long time, these were the only ones that I really liked. So I have two colors in this. I have one that is chocolate truffle, which is brown. And then I have the one that I put on today, which is called Scotch, which is kind of a bronzy color with a little bit of a shimmer to it. And I've never found these to be irritating, and I feel like they have worn really well. And I've had these for like 3 years now, and they seem to be just fine. So I think that, you know, Bobbi Brown moved on, and she is doing some really, really great things at Jones Road. But I think that her legacy at the Bobbi Brown company, there's still some products there that are quite underestimated, and I hope they don't remove all of those from the market, because some of them are quite good. And then I just put on the Lip Sketch lip crayon, and then this is Amaya lip balm. I think that of all the lip balms that are on the market, this is by far my favorite, and particularly when it comes to putting it over a lip pencil, I think it looks really nice. So now let's talk about Ilia and about all of the products that they offer, and I have tried almost all of these. So when I go to Sephora, one thing that I really notice is that Ilia has an awfully lot of really premium space in that store. It is a pretty large gondola, and it is pretty close to the front of the store, and I think that that's very interesting, because my feeling about that brand is that their products are quite expensive for what they are, and because they have really not done much to update their line in quite a while. So I think that most of these products were developed in 10 years ago or so, and while other brands like Kosas have done a lot to update their line of products, I feel like Ilia has not done too much at all until very, very recently. So I think that's interesting, because they must have a lot of brand loyalty for them to still have that much retail space in that store. But it is good for me to be seeing them produce some new products, and especially ones that I really like. So one product that they did bring out last year was this new brow pencil, and this is a brow pencil that is the sort that is like the Anastasia Brow Wiz. It has a really narrow tip on the end, and I think that compared to other brow pencils that I've used, this one has not been too bad. It's been perfectly fine. And then next in the video footage, I am putting on the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation. And this is a foundation that was developed, I think, in 2017, 2018, something like that. So it is getting older, and this definitely reminds me of the frustrations that I had in finding a good foundation when I first started to get into makeup again. So this one did not irritate my skin, so that was good, and it did come in a bunch of different shades. But I think that compared to the foundations that I have really been liking recently, it's much thicker, and when I put it on my skin, I did feel pretty strongly that it looked like I was made up, that you could really tell that I was wearing foundation. And so therefore, if I felt like if I had something on my face that I really wanted to cover up or needed to cover up, that I would go ahead and use this. But in general, I just felt like this was not a product that I really wanted to be using that much. It didn't emphasize my wrinkles a whole lot. It made them look a little bit worse, but mostly it just looked artificial. And if I compare that to something like, for instance, the House Labs foundation, which is also offering a fair amount of coverage, I think that it's much more obvious that I was wearing foundation when I wore this. Now, I think back at that time, it was really in style to look like you were sort of totally made up, and that people were wearing contour and really heavy eyeshadow, and so therefore maybe having foundation on was considered to be a part of that type of a look. But I think now I really don't want people to know that I'm wearing foundation at all, so that would be the main reason that I would probably not wear this foundation again. But it was kind of interesting to go back and revisit it. Now, Ilia does make an eye primer still, so this is a sheer eye primer, and personally, I usually prefer to either use an eyeshadow stick or a liquid concealer, or maybe something like a MAC paint pot on my eyes, because I want something that will cover up the darkness if I'm going to be putting on powder eyeshadows. But I think that as clear eyeshadow primers go, at least this one did not irritate my eyes, and I think that it might have worked reasonably well. And Kosas still makes a liquid eyeshadow that is called the eye tint. And in the past, I had a color that was darker brown, and I found that that was remarkably annoying to put on, that it seemed to require a lot of blending and moving around, and it would look kind of messy. This is a much lighter shade than I have right now, and I think that this one has been kind of pretty on my eyes, and I got this one as a free gift with purchase, I think. And so I wouldn't mind continuing to use this color, but I think that in general, I think there's a lot better liquid eyeshadows out there. If you're looking for an eyeshadow like that, I especially like, for instance, the Lisa Eldridge ones. And I do feel that with the Ilia foundation that I really needed to put some powder on top of that to give it a more finished look, and so I used the Kosas Cloud Set powder, and I thought that that one was works really well with pretty much any foundation I put it on over the top of. Ilia makes a powder that is a loose powder, and it has cornstarch in it, so that seems like it might be a little bit similar to something like the Jones Road, a powder that it might be working better if my skin is feeling more oily or sweaty, or if I'm putting it on over a creamy type of a foundation. But I have not tried that powder, and probably I won't. And then in this look, I am using the Ilia Multi-Stick, and in this case, I am using a shade that is called Ladybird. And again, I think that this is a perfectly fine blush. I don't have any problems with that at all. And it is one of the more popular products that Ilia offers. And then the original product that Ilia offered that launched their company was a tinted lip balm, and they did that because at the time they were not able to find any good quality non-toxic lip balms that were on the market, and I think they did reformulate this at least once. But I don't think this is a bad product. I have not been that motivated to use it very often, but it still seems to be fine. I bought this a couple years ago, I think, and I think it's not a bad lip balm. It's just not as good as some of the other ones that I've tried since then, but I do admire the fact that they were innovative in coming out with this early on compared to when other clean beauty companies were launched. And then finally, they have a mascara that is called Limitless Lash that is designed to create somewhat longer lashes. And when I get this one out, I actually do really like it. I have a kind of a little collection of the little ones that I've gotten as free with purchase. And I think that this is actually a very nice mascara. It is more of a traditional mascara. It's not a tubing mascara, but I think it goes on pretty nicely and it holds up pretty well. And of the products that they have developed and are selling now, I think this is a very nice one, and especially considering how long it's been on the market, I think it's one of the better mascaras that are out there even now. Now, one more product from Ilia that I actually do like is their cleanser, and this came out, I think, last year also. And this is more of a summer cleanser for me, so in the winter months I tend to use more like a cream cleanser, and this one is more like a foamy cleanser, and it actually comes out with a whole lot of foam, more so than pretty much any other cleanser that I have seen for a while. But I think it's actually really nice, and it, unlike most of the cleansers out there that are for oilier skin, it doesn't have any ingredients in it that I consider to be problematic on my skin. I don't consider it to be too drying, and I like the fact that it's in that pump. And all in all, I think that this is actually quite a nice product. And so I think especially for people that do not have really dry skin, but just in general, especially in the summer months, I think this has been a really nice cleanser. And I suspect that I will use this whole container up. And then a couple more products that I would probably not repurchase and that I didn't include in this makeup look, but that I think are not especially problematic. There's one that's a lip gloss, and it comes in a variety of different colors. And I don't really have an issue with this. It does have some various natural fragrances in it. Let's put this one on. There are a few tinted lip glosses that I do like a little bit, but I think that in general I'm not too much of a lip gloss person. And I think that this one is not too bad. It doesn't really have a bad taste to it, but it is not one that I would consider to be the ones that I like the most. And then Ilia makes a liquid blush. This is one of the first liquid blushes that came out, I think. I feel like with this liquid blush that it is more of an opaque type of a formula. So I think most liquid blushes, they're in a kind of a clear base, and so they kind of blend into your skin really easily. So this one you can really see more on your skin, and it definitely looks more like a conventional cream blush when I put it on. And this one I've had for a couple years, and the tube really dried out so much that I was not able to even demonstrate it, and I wouldn't buy it again, but I don't have any real problems with the product, and I did not find it to be irritating. And then Ilia also makes a volumizing mascara, and I suppose if you are interested in a volumizing mascara, you could try this one, but I think there's probably a lot better ones on the market. I found that this one was quite messy and that it was kind of hard to control, and that it wasn't so bad when I got it on my lashes, but again, it was not one that I would probably ever use again. This one, it's actually not used, and I'm not real inclined to go ahead and use it. And then this is a product that I'm not sure that they have on the market anymore. This is a liquid highlight, and I would say that of all the liquid highlighters that I have tried, this one has by far more shimmeriness in it than any of the others. It's kind of ridiculous. I think that much shimmer was more in style a few years ago than it currently is, and so I'm not sure if they're even selling this one now. I think Ilia is still selling this eyeliner, and this eyeliner was not really irritating to my eyes, but I did find that it had a very thick tip to it, and that I wasn't able to sharpen it effectively, and that it created a very, very thick line on my eyes, and so therefore that was not a product that I was able to get any use out of, really. And then there's two more products that I have never tried. One is their liquid concealer, which seems to be fairly popular, and the other one is their primer, and I certainly don't think I'm going to like that one as much as their base face milk. I think the base face milk has been terrific for me. The primer has a lot of ingredients in it that I think could be problematic, and I am usually not a big primer fan. Most of them do tend to be irritating. And now a few more products that I have not been able to use. Primarily, I think, because they have fragrance-type ingredients in them. So one of those is the Blue Light Filter Mist, which is kind of like a setting spray, and that one has a number of ingredients in it that do tend to be irritating, including phenethyl alcohol, which is like a rose extract type of an ingredient that does have a pretty strong scent, and then there's some other scented ingredients in this also. And then Ilia also makes a lip wrap and a lipstick, and both of those products do have an awfully lot of scent ingredients in them, and both of those were quite irritating for my lips, and I'm not quite sure I would have liked that lip wrap even if it hadn't had the scent in it. I just don't think that was a very moisturizing product, and I'm kind of picky about lip nourishing products. And then finally, Ilia has a number of different products that have butyloctyl salicylate in them. And butyloctyl salicylate is a chemical sunscreen that has never been submitted for approval as a chemical sunscreen, and so therefore not everyone recognizes the fact that it is operating really the same way as other chemical sunscreens are acting. There is a lot of pretty strong evidence in the literature at this point to show that that is the case, and it really is very, very similar to the chemical sunscreen that is called octisalate. So the products from Ilia that have that in them, one of them is the Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint, which has an SPF of 40, and that has irritated my face. There is another product that's labeled as a sunscreen, which is called as a vitamin C product, and that one also has the BOS in it, and that one hasn't gotten very good reviews, so I wasn't that interested in trying that either. And then there were a few powder products that they also have BOS in, and that I have found them to be irritating a bit, and I wasn't quite sure why that was the case, and so I thought that it was interesting to find out that they did put that ingredient in these. So one of them is this eyeshadow palette that is called the Necessary, and I haven't gotten much use out of that because I didn't feel like it was very good for my eyes. And then they also put the BOS in this highlighter, which is no longer on the market, and also this bronzer, which I think is also not on the market anymore. So thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And if you have tried any foundation sticks, then please let me know what your experiences have been with them in the comments section. In addition, if you have tried any of the products from either Bobbi Brown or from Ilia, then please let me know about those experiences. And in general, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, then I hope you will go ahead and do that. And Coco and I love you very much, so thank you very much for watching. Goodbye. Ba-da-ba-da-da-bum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.